This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by State Farm Insurance.
Well, this time of year, holiday shopping and traveling have many people putting their debit card use into overdrive, and scammers have taken note. You've probably heard of card skimming, when a device is secretly attached to a card machine to steal the information from your credit, your debit, and your ATM card. It happens a lot at gas stations, and that's not good considering all of the traveling that goes on this time of year. You would think that skimming machines would be easy to spot, right? Well, you can look for loose or damaged plastic around the card reader. You can give it a tug to make sure no skimming device is attached. Still, experts say that may not be enough.
These days, skimmers are so sophisticated that you can fit them into readers without causing any damage at all.
So how do you avoid becoming a victim of card skimming? Fraud experts say discuss fraud protection plans with your bank and your credit card companies. Consider using only the latest new EMV or chip cards. Rivka says they hide your information so that it can't be stolen. Now, that's all good information to keep in mind as you're out and about this holiday season, and that's the thing. So many of us are out and about. And while it's important to keep your personal information safe, it's even more important to keep your most precious cargo safe while you're traveling, yourself and, of course, your family as well. So joining us today with some pointers on how to do that is State Farm Insurance Agent Greg Riddell of Salisbury. Greg, thanks for coming in.
Hi, Jimmy.
So I understand that a lot of this comes through planning. And in the process of your planning, you also have to consider shorter days?
Well, if you think about it, it feels like it's getting dark at 4:30 in the afternoon now, doesn't it?
True.
You could actually be going home from work in a regular commute because it's getting colder as it gets darker, and
Right.
you might be in icy conditions you never saw coming.
You would never expect. Okay, something else that you're suggesting is to transform our trunk. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, take the stuff out of it that we haul around all the time
Right.
that really doesn't do a whole lot of good, and replace it with things that could be very effective in an emergency condition in the winter. Making sure that we're putting a hazard triangle or a first aid kit, jumper cables, a charger, making sure that you've got something to scrape the window appropriately.
Right.
All good things to have.
Okay, and of course, make sure that your cell phone's charged and ready to go with you. What about the road salt and stuff? Really, do I need to carry that around?
I love the idea of having either road salt or cat litter, believe it or not, because both of them, first off, they add a little weight on the drive wheels, but more importantly, if you do get stuck in the snow, you can spread them underneath the tires and it will allow you to get a little bit of traction.
Helps you with the traction there. Okay, so we essentially have an emergency kit. What do you say to the person who says, I'll never need that?
I know it's maybe blasphemy, but even Dan Satterfield got it wrong once. We don't know what's going to happen. And,
Right.
and unfortunately, we're talking about weather-caused emergencies, but there's a lot of problems that happen in everyday life that turn into emergency situations in the winter just because the conditions are bad.
Yeah.
Don't put that kind of stress on yourself. Be prepared. Make sure your family's prepared. Everybody will be much safer and much more happy in the holidays.
I'm sure, make sure that your vehicle is prepared and your mechanic can help with that.
Absolutely. Belts and hoses, making sure that they're not going to have a problem without warning.
Right.
Making sure that your fluid levels are right. Keep in mind, if you're planning a trip to someplace very cold, your windshield washer fluid is only good to about 0 degrees normally, but you can get fluid that's good to 25 or 35 below.
Okay.
Make sure your tires are properly inflated and that you lose 1 pound per square inch of pressure for every 10 degrees the temperature drops. Most people, unfortunately, rely on the warning gauge to tell them that there's a problem, but that means it's already 20% underinflated and you've lost a lot of maneuverability in your tires by the time it gets that far.
I hate to admit that I encountered that just this last week. Now, healthy tires are important too. Why?
Well, we tend to not pay a whole lot of attention to tread wear except when a mechanic tells us there's something wrong.
Right.
But when you get below 630 of tread, and by the way, if you don't know how to measure that, make sure you have a professional do it. But when you get below 630 of wear, you lose a lot of the ability to maneuver through the snow that you would otherwise, and under 430, even water's a problem.
Okay. Glad you mentioned water because you've got a lot of great information, a lot of great tips here, and thank you for that. But there's also some tips that are coming out that may not be so trustworthy, like when you're frozen over, you got snow, you got ice, just dump hot water in the windshield.
You don't believe everything you read on the internet?
Isn't it terrible?
Yeah. Unfortunately, boiling water on a frozen windshield, first off, you're liable to shatter it.
Yeah.
Secondly, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of good out of it. Don't use, by the same token, sharp objects or knives to try and scrape your windshield. Spend a few dollars, get a routine ice scraper with a plastic tip and a snow brush, and you'll be a whole lot further ahead.
Okay, so factor fiction, I can actually drive fast enough on the highway just to go ahead and blow all the snow off my car, right?
Would you do me a favor and call me when you're going to do that so I can make sure I'm not behind you? Not a real good idea. Make sure that the headlights are clear, that the tail lights are clear so that people can see you as well. You want to get all the snow off. If there's 6 inches of snow on the roof of your car and you get up to highway speeds, you're liable to have that 6 inches of snow in somebody else's windshield. You don't want to ruin somebody else's holiday either.
Okay. Finally, true or false? Four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive cars and trucks and such are the safest on the road.
Well, unfortunately, yes, they're probably a little bit safer. I think they tend to give the driver a false sense of security.
Right.
They are much better for acceleration in snowy and icy conditions.
Okay.
They don't tend to do a whole heck of a lot of good for either braking or maneuvering. So if you end up in a position where you feel like you're safe because you're in four-wheel drive, let's just put it this way. If your anti-lock brakes are activating and your traction control is activating, you're driving too fast for the conditions. Don't put yourself in a bad spot.
So the vehicle's probably good, but the driver not so much.
Well, a loose nut behind the wheel maybe.
Greg, thank you so much for your information. If you'd like to read more from State Farm Insurance about staying safe while traveling this holiday, or any day for that matter, go to WBOC.com, click on our picture there at the top of the page. Now, before you travel, maybe you're decorating the tree. Well, there are some decorating dangers that you want to avoid, and you're going to hear how just a little bit of carelessness can lead to this, your home going up in flames. Many people are also lighting their fireplace, but you guessed it, they can be downright dangerous too. You're going to hear some smart moves to keep everyone safe. Delmarva Live, we'll be right back.